All right, hello and welcome to the Crypto Masters podcast, helping the general public master an understanding of crypto assets. My name is Brian McCoy.
And my name is Ross Eaton.
And we are the Crypto Masters.
That was pretty good.
All right.
Maybe. On my end, it sounds good, but I don't know about your end.
It's a little off, but that's all right. We're miles apart. All right, let's get started on today's episode, Ross, because today we're diving into the world of DeFi, decentralized finance. As a reminder, our goal is to provide information about crypto assets to help the public make investment decisions in the crypto space. We don't try to predict short-term price movements, so this show is not for short-term traders.
And we provide information about different crypto assets to allow you, the listener, to make your own financial and investment decisions. This is not financial advice.
All right, we are not giving financial advice, but Ross, do you know the hottest topic in crypto right now? It's DeFi.
Tell me, Brian.
I have to say it. DeFi, so hot right now. That was your Zoolander homage that I know you've been waiting for.
Well, you've got to my attention. I tried.
Nice.
We've always got to pay homage to Zoolander on this show, but
nice.
yeah.
I'll call you Hansel.
Yes. Yeah, let's jump into it, Brian. Let's jump into Compound.
All right. Decentralized finance is the buzz in crypto right now. There are lots of DeFi projects that we can discuss, and almost all of them are on the Ethereum blockchain, which is kind of interesting. And Ross, we talked about perhaps updating our Ethereum podcast, and we may do that soon because DeFi is having an impact. But anyway, so we had a lot of different tokens we could choose from, but we decided to do Compound. Compound, it's an ERC20 token on the Ethereum blockchain, and it literally burst onto the scene in June of 2020, quickly muscling its way into the top 20 market cap. It's now settled back in. It's somewhere around the top 30 at the time of recording this broadcast, but it really was just a burst onto the scene like we hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah, this one was actually crazy. I remember you telling me about it, Brian, and then I remember you told me about it back in June when it was new, and then all of a sudden it's on way up there on crypto market cap. So it's just insane. It really is. But yeah, like you said, DeFi is the hot thing right now. It's been around since about 2018. It used to be referred to as open finance, but that's lame, Brian. It didn't catch on. DeFi.
If you say DeFi, catchier. That's
yeah. Or if you're in conversation, over drinks, you said DeFi, or if you're fancy. No, I'm just kidding. DeFi really caught on from open finance.
I defy you to tell better jokes. All right, so
oh, you got me.
Compound lets you lend and borrow crypto without any middlemen. Nice, right there. So Ross, you and I both own several crypto assets. And I'm going to ask you this question rhetorically because I know the answer. How much interest or dividends are you getting paid on all of your crypto that you're hodling? Answer, none. You're getting nothing. We're both, and most people are doing the same thing with our crypto assets, is we're hodling them, hoping that the value of the coin or token increases, and mostly they have, so that's all good. But the one of the concepts behind DeFi is, what if you could both get the appreciation aspect of it and get an interest on top of that? And the answer to that is nice.
Yeah, and especially nice, maybe a little scary that you can essentially borrow money. You don't have to, they don't have to know your identification. They don't have to know who you are. You don't have to have a credit check. All you need is crypto wallet, and you're good to go. So
Yeah, so that's one part you mentioned is the no KYC, the know your customer, that everything that operates in the U.S. The banks and the different platforms are required to get information about their customer. We're used to giving driver's license and social security and all that to our banks, so not required in Compound. But Ross, why don't we talk about, or you talk a little bit about how it works, the lending and borrowing aspect, and are they matching you up with another individual who wants to borrow the same thing you want to lend, or how does it work?
yeah, so a disclaimer here for Compound, and DeFi. We're going to be doing a shallow dive. Definitely going to take bigger dives later on as appears to be, growing rapidly. But yeah, so DeFi and how these lending and borrowings happen, like you kind of touched on, Brian, there's no one, I'm specifically borrowing from or lending to. It's basically works kind of, I don't know if you've heard of the term liquidity pool, but basically it's a pool of assets. You can borrow, and when I say borrow, you can, let's say you want to borrow Ethereum, you can put up Ethereum or Ether, but you can, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second, but you can either borrow directly or swap a currency. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But basically it's just a big pool. What's cool is you can put your assets in it and earn interest. So if people are actively using the pool,
It's kind of interesting to me on the lending side. I understand it. I can, like, I have a asset that's sitting there doing nothing, like we just talked about. I might want to lend it and earn some interest. So that I get. On the borrowing side, it's you have to put in collateral, and then you can borrow a certain percentage of that collateral. So it's kind of like, here, I'm giving you my crypto that's worth 1,000 US dollars, and then I'm going to borrow something that's worth 600 US dollars. What? Why do you do that? I mean, if you got it, I think the answer is you don't want to liquidate your holding, and yet you want to borrow against it. But I guess you could borrow against it in Tether or some stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar. But in any event, that's just, this is why we're doing a shallow dive today. We're still sort of learning, and it's still very new. But there's just a lot of aspects of it that I find pretty interesting. But it's more on a kind of a factual report. There's 9 different tokens that the Compound protocol lets you either lend or borrow. And a lot of them are pretty well known, including BAT, Basic Attention Token, which we already did a podcast about. There's 0x, which is another DeFi. I put that in the DeFi category. There's Wrapped BTC. There's DAI, pretty well-known stablecoin. ETH, of course. There's REP, which is the token for Augur. And then Tether, with the biggest stablecoin of all. So those are some. What is that? I listed about 7 of the 9. I think there's a couple other stablecoins that you can either lend or borrow against using the Compound protocol.
And not to get anyone confused here, let's say, let me just kick you a scenario. So you go on Coinbase, you want to buy a Compound. You're really kind of investing in the the use of Compound's pool. You know, you just have the coin. You're not lending and borrowing yet. Compound has an app itself, which is a liquidity pool that you can then go on. You can either use Compound or the coins that Brian just mentioned. So yeah, that's one aspect that kind of had me turned around a little bit. So
Yeah, so if you just want to be an investor in it, you can do like we do for everything else. Go on Coinbase or whatever other whatever one has it as a one of their coins or tokens that they trade. You can just buy it and hope it goes up in value. And we'll talk about here in a minute. You know, it's had a pretty crazy ride so far. But also when you use the Compound platform for lending and borrowing, you also earn some comp, sort of in addition to the interest rates that you get. You earn a little bit of comp by using their platform. And you and I talked about on Basic Attention Token, by using the Brave browser, you get paid a little bit of that, and it's kind of a similar concept here. If you use the Compound platform, you get paid a little bit of comp. So yeah, it's two different things. If you don't want to engage in the lending and borrowing, you can just invest in the underlying concept of Compound, and if it does well, your value of your comp will go up. And the thing, Ross, we probably ought to mention is that you mentioned the liquidity pool, and an interesting aspect of this that differentiates it from regular banks is the interest rates are floating, both as a lender and as a borrower. And they actually do that to try to make sure that supply and demand stay somewhat level. So if something gets too popular as an asset being borrowed, like let's say BAT, they can raise the interest that the borrowers have to pay, so that then fewer people will want to do that, because you don't want to pay. I know recently it was at 30% annual interest to borrow BAT. That means they wanted that to come down. They wanted fewer people wanting to borrow. And then on the other side of that would have been the lenders of BAT would be getting paid more to try to equalize it. So anyway, that's kind of an interesting aspect that you should keep in mind if you're going to use the platform. It's not like you sign get a mortgage and you're paying 4.5% for 30 years. This can, I don't know how frequently it changes, but frequently your rates are adjusted. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yep. I've read there's obviously other coins that have fixed rates, but at least with Compound, it's variable. And like you said, Brian, it depends on demand and supply, like how much Compound is out there, and, based on the certain coin that's being borrowed or has more demand, that goes up too. So definitely.
Well, Ross, in both of our efforts in researching Compound, we noticed that some people are doing yield farming. And I don't think that's anything we want to encourage our listeners to do. But I think some of the more advanced people have found out that you can do some yield farming. What is that? Why don't you tell us what that is?
Oh, if you've been if you've been following crypto lately or on Reddit, I mean, there's tons of memes and really funny ones out there about yield farming and all that stuff out there right now. I've heard it described as the rocket fuel of DeFi, but it's really, you got to know what you're doing with it. I mean, yeah. You're basically kind of manipulating the system and finding which exchange rate, if I buy this one coin or borrow and lend for this one coin, I can manipulate that and borrow and lend for another and try to gain an edge on the system itself based on just kind of like what we were talking about, kind of the lending fees and stuff like that. Not my forte, but yeah.
Well, and I think it's for more advanced people. The word that came to mind when I read about it was arbitrage. They're just trying to find, here's if I can borrow at this rate, but over here I can lend the same thing, and that will net me, a certain yield. To me, that's just a version of arbitrage, just comparing rates on different, in this case, different tokens, and seeing how you can, use the lend side and the borrow side to get some extra yield there. So hey, for those doing it, good, go for it. That's great. I think that's the thing that as the market becomes more mature, that tends to go away, and I believe it will. But
Yeah.
again, for the early adopters who are knowledgeable enough to do it, then great, go for it.
Yeah, and like you said, Brian, like as these pools are gonna grow, the goal is to kind of edge all of that out. But in these
Yeah,
early
and just
days, the Wild
efficiency.
West. Yeah.
As it gets more mature, it gets more efficient, and they're just not, the opportunities just aren't going to be there. But for now, they are. So
Yeah.
that's great. But anyway, that's not really what we're here for our listeners for. Let me give a little bit more basic background. I said it launched June 16th, 2020. The comp token is COMP comp. That day it closed. So it's opening day, it closed. These markets never close, but I think they have a closing. They always have a closing at the end of the day, which may be midnight on, some general standard time.
Uh-huh.
But it closed at $93 the first day of trading. The next day it closed at $64 per comp. 4 days later, $381. So it went from $64 a token to 381 on June 21st. At some part of that day, it reached 381. That's wow. In 4 days, that is a massive appreciation. It's come back down to earth. I think we don't like to date our program, but it's back down to about 150 as of the recording of this program. So it does not have a maximum supply. That's one of the things we always look for. Some of the other names in DeFi, they're either competitors or are involved in some other aspect of DeFi, or MakerDAO. That's a big name, been around a long time, had some problems. Synthetics, which actually in my initial thoughts on that are very positive, and the same with Kyber. Both of those are traded, all of these are traded coins. Balancer, I think Balancer is more like an exchange, a decentralized exchange, which is kind of cool. And those are on the rise as well. So, Coinbase, all the others, Kraken, Binance are going to have competition from totally decentralized exchanges, which is almost ironic that, Coinbase and Binance make all their money being centralized in a decentralized world. But here come the decentralized exchanges. So
yeah,
I find that very interesting.
It's kind of like the system they're helping out. It's kind of eating them a lot.
It's kind of like that. And
really
another thing that's interesting is, and I was wondering this, for Coinbase to have comp at this early on, to offer Compound, the comp token, this early on kind of struck me as a little bit odd. You know what I mean? They've only announced that Cardano is not even traded on that platform yet. Yeah. They've announced it. I think it's going to happen by the end of the year. But so how did comp get on there so quickly? I was wondering, and then I found out. Coinbase Venture, their venture capital arm, was an early investor in Compound Finance.
So he just had, a little motivation for him.
Well, yeah, and isn't that kind of interesting that you can have control over the success of your investment? Anyway, because anything traded on Coinbase is going to go up in value. That's just a proven fact. For at least a while, at least there's an initial bump.
Yeah, and I remember you first told me about Compound, launched in June, and all of a sudden it was on Coinbase. I was like, wait, I almost thought you're confused or something. Like, there's no way it's on Coinbase already.
Yeah, I know.
What? I mean,
Well, so I figured it out when I saw that Coinbase Ventures was an early investor in like 2018. So yeah, well, as soon as you're ready, we'll put you on there. Nice.
yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
all right, that's capitalism, I guess. All right, so Ross, so right now, what's the status of the decentralization of Compound? We were
Yeah.
talking about the others. What's the status of this?
So, I can't fault him on this yet because so many are centralized, but it is a centralized project at the moment. But that's normally the trend. Normally these projects try to start off centralized and move to decentralization, in the future. So Compound being new, it's got to get started. So it's centralized, but there are plans to decentralize it. So.
Yeah, and I think I read that a lot of the founders and early investors got a pretty good chunk of the outstanding tokens, or will get a pretty good chunk, and that's always a little bit of a red flag for me that I guess I'll talk about shortly when we get to final thoughts. Sure, if you get a chunk of it, and then let's decentralize. Who cares,
Oh yeah, once you get your amount.
Yeah, I'm being a little jaded, but because they're entitled to something. But anyways, it looks like they took a pretty big piece of it. All right, Ross, what else you got to add? We said it's going to be a fairly shallow dive. We can get to final thoughts soon, unless you have some more thoughts on Compound.
No, I'm honestly ready for final thoughts. My final thoughts are, this bodes well for Ethereum. It's pushing more traffic. I like the idea, though. I gotta say, the decentralized world of this stuff, I want it to mature. I want it to get better. It's kind of like, that little kid that makes you a finger painting of a house or something. Like, he shows you to you. Oh man, look at this. It's like, it kind of looks like a house. Keep working on it. Bring it back to me. But I like the idea here. But I'm gonna sit and wait on it. If it stabilizes, I'll probably move some money in there. But I think at this point, it's just too risky of a market for the lending and borrowing for me. I don't know. I will be putting more money into Ethereum because of all the traffic it's bringing. So
yeah. So are you saying that you're not only not going to participate in the lending and borrowing, but you're also not going to buy the comp token and hodl it?
Oh, I think so. I'm glad you brought that up, Brian. I think I will. I'll probably put in a little bit of Compound, just because it's the buzzword around. Everyone's freaking out about it. I think I'm only going to participate from like an educational standpoint at this point, just to learn and kind of get more, a better feeling for it. But at this point, it's just so new. This DeFi stuff is so new. I'm kind of just holding back and watching. But I'm definitely into Ethereum with this one. So
yeah. All right. Final thoughts from me are going to be pretty similar. So the question is, am I going to invest in on this show, that means really buy and hold for some period of time, the comp token? And the answer is not now. It's just too early. It's Wild West. I don't understand it well enough. And I can see getting in on it, like you said, because it's a hot, it's early and it's a hot property, but I don't know if it's already had its run up and it's coming down, or but most importantly, I'm with you. I am going to be an investor in DeFi. I think at some point when I find the right one. I just don't know enough yet about the competitors and the strengths and the weaknesses. I've got my eye on Kyber and on synthetics. Um, we're in the U.S., Ross, as we said before. I think it's not difficult for me to buy Kyber. I in fact think Kyber is traded on Coinbase or Coinbase Pro. It may be, I'm not sure about synthetics. So unless I want to do the whole VPN thing and pretend I'm from another country and buy it on a foreign exchange, that might be a little harder for me to get. But they're going to be, they're going to be easy to buy for anyone soon. Obviously, Comp is now. I think Kyber is now. But I need to check out the competition more and find out where in the DeFi space I want to put my money. And I'm not ready to do it on Compound yet. But very interesting project. I give them kudos. It's going to be a game changer for crypto. It's probably going to be a game changer for Ethereum, as you said. I think we're going to update our Ethereum show. We got that on our list.
Oh yeah.
Just because there have been some changes. Now, though, so it all looks good for Ethereum. No question that Ethereum is dominating the DeFi as the platform for DeFi. No question.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But, Charles Hoskinson and probably, with Cardano is saying, we still can do it. We still can get a lot of the DeFi projects on Cardano. And I'm sure, Chainlink and Tezos are saying the same thing, EOS. But there's Ethereum has the big early advantage. And I do agree with you that right now, for me and you, in our approach to crypto investing, the DeFi boom makes me want to invest in Ethereum right now. And then I'm going to sort out the underlying DeFi projects and then try to figure out which one of those, if any, I want to go in. But I think there will be some that I want to go in. I said I got my eye on Kyber and synthetics and Compound, but I just need to do some comparison, figure them out a little bit more, talk to guys like you and who are using them, jump on myself.
See the mistakes
test it out, but yeah, a little too early for me to go with investing in Compound. But super exciting project. I encourage our listeners to study it and figure it out because DeFi is on the rise. So let's get on the wave early.
Oh yeah, I just want to say, Brian, you said it perfectly. This is the Wild West right now. If there's a Wild West of crypto, it's DeFi.
That's right.
Yeah, huge marks to Ethereum and maybe a knock to Cardano. Kind of.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm invested in both. We're getting off topic a little bit, in both Cardano and Ethereum, and I certainly think there's room for both. At least for a long time, they both can have their different the markets. They both can successfully go up, and they will, I believe. Not investment advice, but I believe they both will go up. But at some point, there's going to be a reckoning, or I think a little decision. Hey, I've got a lot of both of these. Which one do I want to start?
Yeah, which
selling some. Yeah, but even if Ethereum stays dominant in DeFi, other projects like Cardano can have their own niches, and Cardano seems to be carving out a niche with in Africa with some of the payment systems there. So, they could do well on that while Ethereum's going through the roof on DeFi and some of their other things. Cardano and some of the other platforms can be doing well in a different market and trying to take some of the DeFi, but definitely think there's room for more than one platform.
No, excellent points. Excellent points.
All right, Ross, let's wrap it up. We've now dipped our toe in the world of DeFi. We got our listeners hopefully encouraged to look into it for themselves, and we will be back with another podcast on another crypto asset next week.
Yep. Y'all stay safe out there on the world of DeFi. Be safe.
All right. Take care, everybody. Let's do this next time.
All right.